into the floodlights. I heard no echo. There was distortion everywhere. I found my ego. I felt Roberto standing there. Found my transcendence. It played in mono painted blue. You were the hero. I was the dark room. I'm the shining light in your eye. You probably shine it back on me, but I won't fall this time. With Godspeed, I heed the sign. I saw the solstice, the service station on the road. I took the acid under the white horses. My heart it quicker. I could not tear myself away. Became addiction. If you see darkness, look away. I'm a shining light in your eyes. You probably shine it back on me, but I won't fall this time. With Godspeed, I heed the signs. Oh, glorious world. All potent wave valleys gone wild. Connect us to love and keep us peaceful for a while. I'm a shining light in your eye. You probably shine it back on me, but I won't fall this time. With Godspeed, I heed the sign. I'm a shining light in your eye. You probably shine it back on me, but I won't fall this time. With Godspeed, I heed the signs. I won't fall this time. With Godspeed, I heed the signs.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of the Fourth Quarter Friday morning show on 88.7 KWDM, The Point. Thank you for joining us this morning. There are just 23 days until Selection Sunday, so we are going to preview another crucial weekend in college basketball. We're also going to get to the Four Nations face-off. We don't talk about hockey very often on this show, but we'll be getting to it here today. We're excited for it, and we saw a Canada-United States championship, just a thriller last night. So, Noah, I'll pass it to you to get things started.
Yeah, I mean, this one was big, and I mean, Canada and USA had already played, and Canada lost that one 3-1, and this one was for the championship of the Four Nations, and the other ones included Finland and Sweden, and the other ones back there were good, but Canada, USA ultimately making it to the championship. That one happened last night. This one went to OT, and Canada won it 3-2.
Yeah, and I'll be straight up. I have not watched very much hockey at all in my life, but I tuned into this third period of this one and the whole overtime period, and it was very fun to watch. Very entertaining back and forth action, and all across my Twitter feed, it was these guys. There was no negative comments about this event, and I think that's the bottom line. To have this be your All-Star break for the NHL middle of the year, I think is just ideal. And you saw at the end Connor McDavid scoring the game-winning shot. Ian, we're going to get to that. Mitch Marner with a great assist as well. That was just a well-executed play from the looks of it. And Canada gets it done, but I think the overall message is just how positive of an event this was in its debut season, and it's going to continue for many years, I would assume.
Yeah, and I think it's great because these players, they're given a chance to represent their country, but not in the Olympic times, because that's really when they can do it, is during the Olympics, and even some of them can't because of injuries during that season. So it's nice to see all of these different teams. You got Finland, Sweden, Canada, and the United States being able to rep the flag. And just going out this game, I was unable to watch the first 3 periods, which was kind of rough, but I watched the entirety of OT. And I think the main key for this was Canada. They played their own game, and that's what kind of helped them win. They let the U.S. be aggressive, but they played a good defense. And I want to shout out the Canadian goalie, Jordan Binnington. He just had a great game in that OT. He sometimes got a little flack. He let 3 goals up against U.S. earlier in the opening rounds, and some people were a little upset at that. And then he let 2 in the first couple of periods, and so people were a little afraid that he was going to let a 3rd one in, and it was going to be rough. But in the face of adversity, Jordan Binnington, he stood his ground. I think the USA, they shot 10 goals just in the OT period itself, and 5 of them were within the middle, within the goalie circle, and 2 were at point blank range. Who was it that had the point blank range right 2 feet away from it, Noah?
Yeah, Austin Matthews, he had a couple chances right at the net.
As did Matt Boldy.
Yeah.
And this American team, they played aggressive throughout this entirety of the OT period. The problem was getting into the Canadian winning goal was they were finally able to get their chance on offense because the U.S., they controlled the majority of the offensive possessions that entire OT period. And then coming in to the eventual game-winning area, it was an offensive face-off for Canada that gave them the main possession of the puck, and then they just wrapped around the goal. Who was it that got the assist? Marner?
Yeah, Mitch Marner.
Mitch Marner, he got the assist, and it was a wide-open Connor McDavid who had the slap shot, and Connor Hellebuyck, the goalie for the Americans, he couldn't do much because he was already boxing out somebody else on the Canadian team, and they were able to win it on a pretty easy slap shot goal winner. And the Canadians win the inaugural Four Nations face-off.
Yeah, and let's hit the elephant in the room. There's a league in American sports that needs to kind of take after what the NHL did for their All-Star break, and it's the NBA. I have no idea what happened other than I saw clips about Mac McClung winning the dunk contest, but that All-Star game itself was a tournament with the Rising Stars winning team and 3 other teams that were drafted by the TNT inside the NBA crew for some reason. I'm not sure, but got very negative reviews. Nobody seemed to enjoy it. And even the dunk contest, you got a guy in Mac McClung that isn't really even an NBA player winning it for the 3rd straight year. To be fair, his dunks have been very good the last 3 seasons, but we all want to see star players in that event. And really, the All-Star break just needs a change in some way. So we were considering yesterday, we were talking about how maybe they could go to something like a Four Nations event with the United States, with Canada, and then I don't know if you could go to exact countries because there's just not that much NBA talent in other specific countries, but you could go USA, Canada, Europe, and then rest of the world or something like that. But yeah, the NBA All-Star weekend needs changes, and I think most people would agree with that.
Yeah, and it's not often you get a lot of people going towards hockey, but you see it in this past week and a half, and they dragged their week out for their All Star break and made it a whole tournament. Like, that's so awesome. They clearly outviewed the NBA All Star weekend by 7 million views. At least that first USA Canada matchup had around 10 million views, and the All Star weekend in general just got about 3.4 million views. So I honestly think the NHL is doing right with what they're doing with their All-Star break and how they're going about it. I think they should continue it. I've seen people call for just a best-of-5 USA versus Canada for the All-Star break. But, Britton, you mentioned the NBA. I think they could follow like a USA rest of the world format or just go back to the old All-Star stuff, right? I think we need more dunkers in the dunk contest and actually some better-named players, like not just Mac McClung, who's a G League guy, who's played 7 minutes in the NBA this season. And then I also think we need to increase the amount of players that are playing in the All-Star game. If you get it up to 35, 36, that's a player to a team. Now every team's being represented in the All-Star weekend. And also just have a little more meaning to it. We don't really need to have 3 different teams on the court by TNT analysts. We need to go back to just the regular pick'em and Western versus Eastern Conference matchup.
Yeah, it was a great outing for, I think, everybody. And the NHL, they've done something right. And I think the NHL, they've been doing a lot right as of lately. They're kind of leading a lot in just how modern sports, I feel, just the way that they're increasing their technology use for the safety of their players. They have increased the helmet safety, which the NFL has now looked into more, and now their All-Star weekend is one of the best in all of sports. I think it's even sometime that Four Nations face-off, especially that championship game, felt better than I think the NFL All-Star weekend has ever felt, at least in the past 5 years. And so I'm really excited to see how the NHL continues that. If they continue that, I think they probably will, with the amount of positive ratings they got, and how other sports will look to continue that. But now we move on. It's going to be a good college hoops weekend. We're moving on to our next topic. We got a bunch of games, a bunch of top 25 games in college hoops to really just talk about. But Britton, you got the first one.
Yeah, and as I said, just over 3 weeks away from Selection Sunday, so the anticipation continues to grow. Let's start off Friday night at 7 p.m. tonight at the Chrysler Center. It's Michigan State, number 14, at number 12, Michigan. Some huge Big Ten stakes on the line. Michigan in first at 12-2 in the conference. Michigan State at 12-3. Everyone else has at least 4 losses, so this could go a long way in determining the regular season conference championship. For Michigan State, it's a team that beat Purdue this week, has kind of come out of nowhere. I think they had a poor start to the season. I think people looked at this roster and counted them out, but Tom Izzo has his boys playing some great ball. They started Big Ten play 9-0, and they have a 10-man rotation. Very deep team, no stars. For Michigan, it's that 2-headed monster inside, Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf, 2 7-footers that are on the court at the same time. Danny Wolf's a guy from Yale, and you definitely can tell that he went to an Ivy League school just watching him play. A great big man passer. This one should be a great matchup here tonight.
Yeah, and Michigan State has the better record at 21-5, just a 1-game edge. But obviously, Big Ten play, Michigan does have the 1-game lead. And as you said, this is a big game for the Big Ten standings. Obviously, these two teams will make the conference tournament, but not everyone is going to make it this year. So, I mean, this one in particular, though, you get the best of the best in the Big Ten right now. And I think Michigan State is looking at this as a chance to get back to first place in the Big Ten.
Yeah, and Michigan State's had some criticism of not having a go-to guy this year. They don't have a star player on the team, but these guards are still very talented. Jaden Akins is in his 4th year with the program. He's the leading scorer. You got Jace Richardson, the son, of course, of former NBA player Jason Richardson, Jeremy Fears. Those are 2 freshmen that have been crucial for this team. Fears with 6 assists this season. Trey Holloman's another guard that can hit big shots. So while Michigan State may not have a go-to guy late, they have a bunch of guys that can create their own shot in late shot clock situations. I still like Michigan in this one just to get it done at home. That's kind of what tends to happen with these in-state rivalries.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. Now we move on to the Saturday slate, which is as stacked as I think it's been all season. The first game we're talking about, it's pretty much to lock up the third place position in the SEC. The SEC has had one of the more stacked, I think, groups this entire year. It's been between the Big 12 and the SEC. The SEC controls majority of the top 5 spots with Auburn, Alabama, and then this game, Tennessee at Texas A&M. You got the 6-7 matchup. It's going to be a good game. Both of these teams, they've struggled in some games, but they've been able to rebound in others. And by the matchup predictor and just like the line that it's set at, it's going to be a close game. And I really want to see, especially for Tennessee, how Chaz Lanier responds on this road game. Also, Taylor for Texas A&M. It's going to be a good game. Both of these players are averaging just about Lanier at 17.5, Taylor at about 15 points per game. So both are roughly close in points, just production. So I want to see then how these big guys, you got Ziegler, Millick for Tennessee, you got Garcia, and Taylor again, who's leading the assists. So I think it's going to be a good game. I think Tennessee might have the edge on this one despite being on the road.
Well, Tennessee hasn't beat a ranked opponent on the road this season, so this would be a first. And I think Tennessee still needs to prove themselves. I know they're 6th, but people around the country don't believe in this team as a 1 or a 2 seed right now. This would go a long way in doing that. A&M coming off a loss to Mississippi State this weekend. They're 2 teams that aren't going to play pretty basketball. They're going to lock you up defensively, crash the offensive glass, and it will, Ian, as you mentioned, may come down to just who can hit some big shots late, because it's going to come down to a couple possessions. Lanier, Wade, Taylor could go a long way in doing that. I think I just like A&M to get it done. Tennessee hasn't beat a ranked opponent on the road, and I just don't see it happening here. I think A&M finds more big shots late in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, looking at these team stats, this is about as even of a matchup, I think, as you're going to get this season, especially between a 7 and a 6 ranked team in the country. And it's crazy that we got Texas A&M at 4th place and Tennessee sitting at 6th place right now as the number 6 team in the country, but 6th place in their conference. That's just a testament to how good the SEC is this year, like you mentioned, Ian. But, I mean, points per game, the way they shoot the ball, field goal percentage, their assists are all up there in, like, total same. So, I don't know. I mean, that was a bad loss for Texas A&M against Mississippi State. Tennessee needs a prove-it game, Britton, like you said. I'm going to say Tennessee just because I'd like to see them get a statement win, especially on the road, and be a top 10 team.
We need to see Tennessee win this game if they need to be taken seriously as a national title contender. Let's move on to the college game day tip-off at 1 p.m. It's Iowa State going on the road and taking on Houston, a top 8 matchup, and a huge one atop the Big 12, although Houston has a 2-game lead over Arizona and a 3-game lead over the Clones. We've bounced back a little bit after that rough spot, winning 4 straight games ever since getting Milan back. We all do know why. It's because of Milan's shooting, but I think the effect he's had on this team this year is something we all kind of underestimated throughout the season, but we're well aware of it now. And Houston, they're almost unbeatable at home, although we did see Texas Tech do it earlier this year. That took one of their best games this season. So if Iowa State wants to win this game and kind of just get over that hump, cement themselves back in a top 5 consideration, they need to win this game here, and it's going to take some huge shooting nights from Curtis Jones, from Keyshawn Gilbert, from Tamin Lipsey.
Yeah, I think for this Iowa State team, like you mentioned, it's going to come down to shooting, and that's one thing Iowa State has struggled with when they can't get comfortable shooting-wise. It's a rough game because they just have no other offensive production, it feels like, because they rely on the shooting ability, be it deep threes, be it just regular threes, or even the mid-range jumpers. This isn't a team that drives in all that much. They do a little bit when they have the lanes, but they like to shoot the ball. We see that from Jones, like you said, Gilbert, Lipsey, and even Milan. And I would like to see them maybe try to get inside to Jefferson, to Chatfield, and those were the guys that really helped them, especially Chatfield, in their last couple of wins against Cincinnati and Colorado. I like that. And I think going on the Houston side, they have a really solid team. This is a team that we kind of questioned a little bit at the beginning of the year just because of their couple of losses in non-con. And since conference play, they have been pretty much unstoppable despite that loss to Texas Tech at home. That was, I think we'll see today if that was just like a trap game fluke situation or if Houston does have an Achilles heel, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big game for the Iowa State guards. They're going to need a big game, I will say, if they want to take down Houston. But I definitely agree that Joshua Jefferson is going to have a big day. His height at 6'9" is about the average height as a big on this Houston team. I just don't know if Jefferson's built for this kind of moment, but we'll see. He's proven it on the road at Tech, hitting some clutch layups and free throws to seal games, and I'm excited for this one. I would say in years past, though, just as these two teams has battled just a year ago, expect a slugfest, but the offensive abilities that I think Iowa State now adds, the scoring, and then, Houston can pop off when they want to, but obviously they're going to be more focused on defense. I wouldn't say it's first to 60. I think we see a game more in the high 70s, possibly 80s, but the defense intensity is still going to be there all night long.
And one more thing to mention is this Iowa State team, they used to focus on, the turnover battle is, one of the things that we always saw in the stat line was when Iowa State wins the turnover battle, they end up winning the game. And we saw that in their win against Cincinnati last weekend, it was kind of proven wrong. They lost the turnover battle, at least for the majority of the game, and they were still able to win. So I think they still, despite that, need to control the turnover battle, and they probably need to win it because this team, when they can win the turnover battle and when they can get those points off turnovers, which they're really good at when they feel comfortable, this is a very unstoppable Iowa State team. But Houston, when they just get comfortable throughout, it's like trying to stop a moving truck, to be honest. This is a team that will go at you with all they have. And so I think this Iowa State defense, they need to stand up and just show why they deserve to be at the top of the Big 12.
Moving into the night slate, the game I find most interesting is going to be Duke, Illinois at MSG. It's one of two huge college basketball games hosted at Madison Square Garden this weekend. I think teams get into kind of these conference slate ruts towards the end of the season, and you see a lot of people disconsider the Big Ten come tourney time because they've just been playing all these Big Ten teams. Well, this is a time both for Duke and Illinois to kind of serve as a preview of a potential 1-8 NCAA tournament matchup. For Illinois, they've been slumping recently. They've up to 8 losses in the Big Ten. Duke 23-3 overall, so certainly the Blue Devils have the edge. But Illinois still with a ton of talent. Kasparas Jakučionis is a lottery pick, a great true freshman from Lithuania. Thomas Ivisic, also from Lithuania. There are a lot of new players on this Illinois roster, and they're very talented, can shoot the three ball very well. That's going to have to combat the overwhelming size and overwhelming height that Duke provides.
Yeah, Duke, I think, is just the better team and the more talented team in this one. So I'm going to say Duke will win that one. Not much to say for some of these other games, but Kentucky, Alabama, if you're looking for offense, you're going to get it 5 p.m. on ESPN. That's one that you might want to tune into later on. I think Alabama bounces back at home. And just to give some more quick picks, I think that Arizona will end off Saturday night with a win at home against BYU.
Yeah, Alabama, Kentucky, in that first matchup at Rupp Arena, we saw Alabama win an absolute shootout. So that one will be fun to watch. BYU, Arizona, keep an eye out. BYU just blew out Kansas middle of the week, but Arizona at home has been almost unbeatable unless you're, of course, the Houston Cougars. Let's move on now to Sunday's action and hit the other big game at MSG. It's UConn and St. John's. We want to talk about UConn a little bit and kind of just what is going on with Danny Hurley's team winning 2 straight national titles, and they have a solid roster once again. You would expect this team to be performing a little bit better than they have. They're 18-8 overall, and the St. John's Red Storm with a win here can almost clinch the Big East regular season title. They've come out of nowhere. It's a team that doesn't shoot the three ball well at all. One of the worst in the country, but they also have the second best defense in the country. They get after you and go run in transition with these kind of big wing guards, Kaderi Richmond, R.J. Lewis. This one will be a very fun game to start your Sunday morning.
I mean, this is a team out of St. John's that's living up to their name because they've been storming through this Big East Conference. They have played so well throughout this entire season, and it's great to see. I kind of like seeing a new face in the Big East. I'm kind of tired of UConn. I've never been always on that UConn bandwagon, even throughout the last couple of years. It might lead from them knocking out Iowa State a couple years back. But either way, I think this is going to be a good game to watch. For UConn, this is a game that they can actually prove themselves if they can win it. We say that kind of about a lot of the games. We said that when they played Marquette a couple weeks back, when they played Marquette also a couple weeks back. UConn, that's one of the things I think is different this year than the past years, is they have to continue to prove themselves in games when they've been used to just being able to stay in the game and then win it in the second half. St. John's, on the other hand, they can do that, what UConn has done in the past couple of years. They just stay in this game. They play their own game, and I think they can overpower UConn. Even pretty much early in the game, I think this is a game that St. John's matches up very well in and even has the edge.
Yeah, last time out, we saw this one at UConn, and St. John's came in and won 68-62. I think we see a similar style of play from St. John's. And, I mean, first half, there wasn't a ton of defense. Both teams almost getting to 40 points, but UConn only scoring 27 in the second half is a testament to Rick Pitino's defense. And I just think that St. John's, although they don't shoot the three ball well, it's a team you kind of have to love. They're winning games. They're doing all the right things on defense. And when they get down low and into the paint, it's kind of wraps for whoever they're playing. R.J. Lewis had 21 in that one. I expect him to have another big game at Madison Square Garden.
And just look at the last 5 games for UConn, and it really just shows the volatility of this UConn team overall. They had wins at Marquette, at Creighton, but then a complete meltdown late, losing to Seton Hall, the worst team in the Big East, and then barely escaped Villanova at home middle of this week. They were down double digits late in the second half, came back. They have a lot of good shooters, right? Alex Karaban, we know him from the last couple of years. Liam McNeely, a stud freshman, solo ball, with one of the best names in college basketball. Also a baller, leads the team in scoring. But no, I would have to agree. I think St. John's gets this one done at home. Also on Sunday, last game we're going to hit is Purdue at Indiana. And this one maybe on paper doesn't look like the greatest of games, but with how weak the bubble is this year, Indiana is very easily still right there. And if you beat the Boilers at home, that could be enough to get them on the right side of the cut line come Selection Sunday, although they have lost 4 of their last 5. Ben's struggling. They're going to have to win it inside. Trey Kaufman-Renn leads Purdue in scoring, the big man. Meanwhile, Indiana likes to get a lot of their points from, especially Omar Ballo, the Arizona transfer, inside the paint.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of good games on Sunday, but I kind of want to end it out with you guys trying to rack up your memory on college basketball. I got a couple of, questions, but really it's, do you know your stats? I'm not doing any points per game because we all know who it pretty much is. It's pretty much Cooper Flagg at this point. But I want to see do you know the top 3 for assists per game and rebounds per game? This is according to NCAA.com. As of Wednesday, February 19th, we can start with assists per game.
This is the whole country?
This is the entire country.
All right, to make it easier and take a little bit less time, give us conferences for each play. We can go one by one.
So the first conference is for assists per game. I don't actually know what conference they're in.
I would assume this. See, it easily could be a mid-major guy.
They're in the West Coast Conference.
So that's going to be Ryan Nembhard.
Yep, Gonzaga, 9.7 assists per game. Number 2, you got a Big Ten player with 8.8.
Braden Smith.
Yeah,
Braden Smith out of Purdue. And then this is another mid-major guy.
I'm just waiting to hear, like, American East or something out of Ian's mouth right here. But
they have a Conference USA, 8.3 assists per game.
Okay, who's at the top of that conference,
Just
though?
no, I know, but what? God, it's Jacksonville State, Middle Tennessee. You got
Kennesaw State.
Louisiana Tech, but it's not Louisiana Tech. I don't think
It is.
it is.
It's a Louisiana
I
Tech
watched
game.
them last night
Yeah, I will not be tuning into La Tech.
because I know they got Daniel Bacho's their leading scorer, Texas Tech transfer, but he's a big man. Certainly doesn't lead their team in assists. God,
Wait,
I
who'd you
should
say?
actually know this.
Who'd you say?
But Ian, just
It's
just
Sean Newman Jr. 8.3. Now
Okay.
on the rebounds per game, the first guy, he comes from the Big Sky Conference. I'll give you the school also maybe to help you out.
No.
It's Northern.
no.
It's Carson
No.
Towton, Northern Arizona, 12.7
Who?
rebounds a game. Number 2, it's from South Dakota State, 12.6.
Oscar Clough.
And number 3, I'll just give you the conference. Because of the conference realignment, they're now in the ACC, 11.3 rebounds per game.
So SMU, Stanford, Cal, Stanford, huh?
Stanford.
Is it Raynaud, Maxime?
Yep, Maxime Raynaud.
Seen.
Raynaud or something.
Raynaud, yeah. And now, this is just a team one. Who's the best scoring offenses in the country? I bet you could probably. I'll just make sure you get the top 3.
Conferences, Ian.
Okay, SEC. It goes SEC, West Coast Conference, then SEC again.
Bama.
Bama,
Gonzaga,
and then
Kentucky.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
I
so
gotcha.
you guys are keeping up
Okay.
on your sports knowledge. I'll try to get some new ones next Friday. But thank you all for listening. We had a great show talking about hockey and basketball. Make sure to tune into some of those games because we're most likely going to discuss them come Monday. It was a great show, so make sure to tune in next Monday from 7:50 again to 8:10. As always, I'm Ian Nelson alongside Noah Seaver and Britton Morrow. Have a great rest of your Friday and have a great weekend.
Off with your head.